Hey, what's up, guys? I'm going to be talking about my favorite horror films of the 1980s and also the films I did enjoy that decade. But I figured I'd do this video since, we're, going through this whole self-quarantine, this whole pandemic. So I hope you guys are doing well and you're staying safe. And I'm just going to go through the list here of, starting off with 1980. And let's see here. I'm going to scroll down, look here. And Alligator, that's a film I saw when I was a kid. And I really enjoyed that film. Big, giant, alligator. Some kid flushed a baby alligator down the toilet, and he grew. And it was actually, I enjoyed that film. Let's see. Boogeyman, I'm aware of its existence, but I don't think I've seen that all the way through. And we got, let's see. Don't Answer the Phone. I want to say I've seen that film. Let me see. Let me just look at it for a second. Don't Answer the Phone. Maybe not. Maybe I haven't seen that one. I've seen something like that. Okay, so we got Fade to Black. That's a film that had good ideas, but the execution wasn't the best. Mainly what I didn't like about the film was the lead, actor. Dennis Christopher was his name. And he was also in It miniseries, the 1991. And I never cared for him as an actor. And this film, Faded Black, I just didn't care for his performance. He's one of those actors that he overacts, He's just overacting, I don't know. So I feel that's what hurt the film, and some of the writing wasn't very good as well, so. But some things were good. Some things I liked. It was interesting. It was different. Little twists here and there. I liked the whole Marilyn Monroe look-alike, and he was obsessed with her. I thought that was kind of interesting, but he's just a damaged character. Obsessed with films, basically what that movie's about. Fade to Black. I'm kind of 50-50 on the film. And let's see here. The Fog. Classic John Carpenter flick. I really enjoyed that film. Really nice atmosphere and visuals for a low budget film. It is kind of slow paced, but it is interesting. Has a certain mood and style to it that I can appreciate, even though it's low budget. It's got some scary moments to it. It's definitely it's got something going for it. Let's see here. Friday the 13th, another classic film. You can't go wrong with the original Friday the 13th. I mean, it's not my favorite in the series, but it did, it started the whole series of Jason. I mean, without the first film, you wouldn't have all the sequels and, the iconic Jason, So, you gotta respect the film. Even though Jason's not in it too much anyway. It's mainly about his mother getting revenge. Funeral Home, boring piece of shit movie. The Hearse, another boring film I didn't care for. Inferno, not as good as Suspiria, but I did like some of it. Some things were unpleasant to the eyes, like killing a real rat, which was pretty disturbing. I'm surprised they actually filmed that, and they were allowed to do that. But I did like some things about it, because I do like the director, Dario Argento. He's a really good visual director. But the story and the pacing at times is kind of lackluster, but I did like some of the visuals. As a narrative, I didn't think it wasn't as interesting as Suspiria. I've never seen the third film. Okay, let's see. Maniac, I've never seen the original, but I've seen the remake, which I did not like. Motel Hell, long time ago I saw that, but I don't remember much about it. People wearing like masks, or like a pig head or something, weird shit. I don't remember much about it. I think I caught it on television one time. Let's see. Nightmares, that's a really underrated gem. Definitely check that out if you haven't seen that. I believe that's the one. Nightmares. With, what's his name? Let me see. Take a look at it. Oh, this is a different Nightmares. Okay, I've never seen this one. The one I'm thinking about is the one with the video game. The guy gets like this character comes out of the video game, this villain, and goes after him. This kid that finally beat this game, and now he has to fight the actual game in real life. Like, he has to fight it to survive. Like, the game comes alive, in the arcade, place he's at. Like, the actual game actually becomes a reality. It comes out of the arcade system. Emilio Estevez, that's the one. Actor I was thinking of. I think that came out later. It wasn't in 1980. But I actually enjoyed that film. Prom Nights, it's okay. People talk about it a lot. I don't know why. I guess, it was probably an original idea back then, but I've seen so many of those films since. Typical, serial killer, this guy is just, he's killing people because they did him wrong when he was a kid, and he's getting revenge on prom night. It's just a typical slasher film. Not really a lot of story there, but it's okay. It feels more like a 70s film though. It's got disco in there. I remember there's like disco. And still wonder how long that film sat on the shelf before they released it, because it has some 70s stuff going on. I believe that's all for 1980. No, The Shining. That's a classic Stanley Kubrick film with Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. It's a scary ass movie. It's, to this day, it's an intense film. It's pretty good for a film that's 40 years old at least. And I like Doctor Sleep too. That was a good film as well. The sequel to that. The remake television Shining, it was too long. Let's just put it that way. I did like some added things they put in there, but it was not as scary as that original film. But I did like the little things they add to it, or I think they did some things to complement that film, but I don't know, it wasn't as good as the original still. Jack Nicholson is scary. And the whole famous scene, "Here's Johnny." You know, you can't really top that. It's kind of hard to try to make a remake of that one. It was already good before. I mean, I know it's not close to the book, but sometimes, you know, sometimes you can make a movie that's a lot better than the book. Sometimes when it comes to books, they need to be edited. They need to trim the fat, because sometimes books go on too long and sometimes they're unnecessary. I know people complain about, oh, it wasn't like the book. Well, sometimes the book needs to be trimmed down for, you know, film. You know, you can't make everything, you know, from the book. You can't make exactly like the book. You have to cut things out, or you have to, you know, have a smooth narrative. You know, you can't just, you know, you got to condense the whole thing in a 2-hour film. You can't really, I mean, unless you make sequels, 20 Shining films to get the entire story of the book that Stephen King wrote. But I thought they did fine, because the miniseries that was, you know, supposed to be closer to the book, that was pretty long, and a lot of stuff on there did not need to be in there. It was just too much. Some things were good, but what was it, like what was it, like a 5-parter or something? That's too long. So I believe that's all for 1980. I don't see anything else. Okay, so we're gonna go into 1981. Let's see what they have here. Deadly Blessing. It's not one of my favorite Wes Craven films, but I do respect the film. My main problem with the film is it has some slow pacing, and the ending isn't very satisfying. I mean, it's mainly a shock ending, which it's clever, but to end it like that and that's the rest of the film, it's like, there could have been more to that, or I don't know, could have been better. I guess it's fine for what it is. I believe it was a TV movie, but I do like, you know, the visual style and the atmosphere, and Wes Craven was definitely sharpening his, you know, craftsmanship. You know, he's definitely sharpening his skills as a director. He was really fine-tuning, and, you know, he definitely was showing his signature style of, you know, Wes Craven. This was like the launch pad. You could see it in this film, because like one scene with Sharon Stone, which is in the film, she is in the bathtub taking a bath, and a snake is in the bathtub with her, and Wes Craven borrowed that scene for A Nightmare on Elm Street with Nancy in the bathtub with Freddy's, you know, glove coming out of the bathtub. So Wes Craven actually ripped himself off. But Obviously he perfected it in A Nightmare on Elm Street, but that, that one scene with Sharon Stone, you could see it right there. You can see he was, starting to show his talent as a director, as a visual director. You could see it, with the atmosphere and the certain camera shots and angles, and you could see it definitely. And with Sharon Stone sleeping and the spider comes down, which is what the cover of the film, that's what it's based off of. It's that particular scene. But I do respect the film because it was a launch pad for better Wes Craven films. So that was a film that kind of pushed the envelope and kind of, we got Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street, and then other classic films, so you gotta respect the film, even though it's not the best he's ever done, but definitely you could see it. He was getting better as a director with that film. That's when I saw his talents the most. He had his budget was a little bit bigger. You can see his, vision, as a horror director. So let's see what else we got here. The Entity. That's a scary movie. That movie, I couldn't sleep. I stayed up all night when I was a kid after seeing that. That's a film that I think is probably one of the most scariest films I've ever seen as far as a horror film. I think it's scarier than The Exorcist. The Entity is a film that definitely, it's intense, it's scary as hell. It's like relentless scary. If they made a remake to that, holy shit. With that kind of intensity, I don't think people would want to go back and see movies in the theater again after that one. I doubt it though, because modern horror films are not as scary as the old ones. So, yeah, definitely. If you're bold enough, go and watch The Entity. It's definitely chilling to the bone. The subject matter, anyway. Alright, let's see here. The Evil Dead. Classic Sam Raimi film. Shoestring budget. It's a good horror film for what little they had to make the damn movie. And definitely Sam Raimi's crowning achievement, I guess I can say, because that was a film that made him a big name, along with Bruce Campbell. But yeah, it's a really good horror film. It's scary, but it's got some, it's doesn't, I wouldn't say it has dark humor, but it's very gory. I mean, there's no humor in that film. That film is scary. I mean, Jesus Christ. Alright, let's see. Eyes of a Stranger. Okay, low budget. Guy stalking this girl that's blind, trying to kill her. Let's see. Friday the 13th Part 2. I enjoy the film. My favorite part of the film is the ending, where she's wearing the sweater and Jason sees his mother instead of the woman he's trying to kill, which was an interesting twist. I was not expecting it to, go in that direction with the film. So, Jason films, sometimes they do these twists and they can do some clever ideas. It's not always those films, they're typical, they're repetitive at times, they do the same old sometimes, but they do come up with some clever ideas. Little ideas here and there, scattered, but that was one of them I thought was interesting. She wore, his mother's sweater, and he was like having like hallucinations of his mother. It was interesting. Why he was having hallucinations of his mother, I don't know. But it was interesting regardless that they did that. A clever idea in a slasher film that's basically just a guy, in a hockey mask. Or in this film he had like a bag on his head and he's just killing, teenagers who, come to, Crystal Lake to, he gets revenge on these people because, these people didn't pay attention to him. He drowned as a child. And plus, they killed his mother, so he's kind of like this, I don't know, supernatural being that kills kids. Camp counselors and all these people. He's like, he haunts the camp, I guess. I don't know. That's my theory on it. Alright, let's see. The Funhouse. I didn't care for that film. I thought everything about it was boring. The, special effects or anything story-wise was junk. It was something that I really did not enjoy at all. That was done by Tobe Hooper, which he's done better, obviously. Texas Chainsaw Massacre and other films, but that was not one of his better films, in my opinion. That's supposed to be, isn't that supposed to be based off of a Dean R. Choots book? I don't know, I didn't care for it. Halloween 2, it's a good sequel. With Laurie in the hospital, aftermath of the first film, so she's in the hospital, getting treated, and Michael tries to finish the job, get, her annihilated, basically. I like most of the Halloween films. So, The Hand with Michael Caine, terrible film in my opinion. I mean, Michael Caine is not likable in the film. I just didn't care for any split personality or whatever the fuck he was having. He, manic at one point, an asshole at another. I mean, he just wasn't a likable character. Even when he wasn't manic and split personality, he was just, as a character himself, just his regular self, he was some guy that was not likable. He was this guy that lost his hand in an accident. He's an artist or whatever, and he's just, I don't know, I just didn't like him. I didn't like him as a character. I didn't like the story. The hand comes alive, and he's killing people. It's like the movie didn't make a whole lot of sense. The ending wasn't very good. I mean, it was not a good film. I know people praise that film. I know people like it, but I didn't care for it. It was not a film I liked at all. I thought it was fucking pointless. That's just my opinion. People like it, that's fine. Happy Birthday to Me. I thought that was a pretty well done film, actually, with Melissa Sue Anderson. She did a pretty good job in that. That was an interesting film that had a twist to it. It was actually sophisticated. I was really surprised because usually horror films during this time period sometimes they weren't, they didn't have a deep story. I mean, it felt like this film had like a deep story going on. It was a slasher film, but it had some layers to it, and it was sophisticated, which was kind of surprising. I wasn't expecting the twist ending either. I thought it was enjoyable. I was actually surprised. Usually these films are kind of just the horror films of the 80s. There was a lot of slasher films, so there's a lot of slasher films, but this particular one, for a low budget film and a film that did not do well, I don't remember any kind of promotion or anything, trailers or anything, but for a film that is kind of like slipped through the cracks and rediscovered, because I watched it not too long ago, and I was actually surprised that it was actually a decent film. I actually enjoyed Happy Birthday to Me. I'm glad I actually have it in my collection. So, there's that. And what else do we have here? We have Ghost Story, which is a film that's, I have to say, those older films have pacing issues. And that's one of those films. It's one of those movies that I do respect it. I thought this story was interesting, but they could have made it better. I don't know. The third act I liked. Once it got going and it was revealed to you what was going on. Because everything's kind of like clouded in mystery. You don't know what the hell's going on. These people are getting killed. I mean, it's one of those films that you have to watch it, and then everything's revealed to you, and you finally know what's going on towards the third act. So it's probably one of those films I probably should watch again, and probably would appreciate it more, maybe. But I just remember, watching it for the first time, like, this movie's kind of slow paced, and it's taking forever to get to the point. And once I got to the third act, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know. It didn't leave a lasting impression with me, but maybe I should try watching that again to see if I would like it better the second time. And let's see here. The Howling, which is a classic werewolf film. Transformation scene is really good. It's one of the best. The Howling and American Werewolf in London are the best werewolf films. Best practical effects, transformation scenes of the werewolf. Looks better than anything that has came before, after. There's so many werewolf films, but those were the best when it came to special effects of the werewolves. American Werewolf in London, yeah. It's another great film from John Landis. You know, the werewolf transformation scenes, and it's a classic. I like the dark humor, comedy and horror mixed with comedy. It's a unique film. I enjoyed it. I think The Howling and American Werewolf in London are equal, in my opinion. I do think American Werewolf in London is more. It's it's a horror film, but it's a comedy in horror. So, The Howling is just a straight up horror film. So, they're both different in ways, but similar in ways as well. But if you want to get a couple laughs, and American Werewolf in London would be a film to watch. Wolfen, it's a slow-paced film. I respect it, but it's not one of the better, films in that genre. My Bloody Valentine, I didn't care for it, to be honest. I liked the remake better. And let's see here. Omen 3, The Final Conflict, mediocre. Piranha 2, The Spawning, I've never seen it. The Pit, I know what it is, I've never seen that one. Possession with Sam Neill, I know what it is. It's a weird horror film. It's not a film I want to watch, but I'm aware of what it is. Prowler, I'm aware of what it is, but I've never seen it. Saturday the 14th, classic horror comedy. Student Bodies. Has anyone seen that film, Student Bodies? Definitely check that out. It's the first scary movie. That was the first one. With them doing a parody of horror films. This guy, the Brever, he's stalking women and killing them. You never see his face, but he's like, he's like, I'm the Brever. It's like, it's me, the Brever. You're probably wondering who I am. Who could I be? I like to kill the kid with the gum. All these stairs. I hope I don't die first. Sugarless. It's just so crazy. This guy is like, he picks his murder weapon, and it's like a paper clip or a eggplant, and goes and kills these people. It's so silly. It's like he gets a horse head bookend. He's like, do you like horse head bookends? And then he's chasing this girl, and he's like, why do they always run from me? It's the galoshes. They're a dead giveaway. Why do we even wear them? It's not even raining. Great. I picked a jogger. It's so crazy. You definitely gotta watch that one. It's not a great film by any means, but it's definitely amusing. I get some humor out of it. I definitely laugh at it. It's definitely a film that I know it's not a great film, but it's definitely one of those films that I get enjoyment from it. I don't know why. It's one of those films that it is funny, but it's not a great movie either. It's not a great comedy, but it's the film that started it all. That's the one that paved the way for Scary Movie and all those parody horror films. Student Bodies was the one with the Brever. You know, they're making fun of Halloween and, you know, these other films like When a Stranger Calls, you know, those type of movies. They're even making fun of, like, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, the reason why he's going after them is because it's her birthday or something. It's just really silly horror comedy. But yeah, this is all I'm going to be talking about for today. This is a series of videos I might do. I mean, I only touched on, you know, 1980 and 1981 horror films. If people really like this, I'll turn this into a series of videos of my favorite, you know, horror films of the 1980s, and my least favorite, you know, the films I don't like from, you know, the 1980s as far as horror films. You know, I'll do that for you guys if you enjoyed this video. So, anyways, you guys stay safe, be good, be well. I'll talk to you guys later, right? And take it easy out there. Be safe. Alright. Take care.